homeless person extended his hand, asking for just $1 from Clint Eastwood. No one expected the legendary actor to stop in the middle of the street, look directly into the man's eyes, and say something that would make everyone around hold their breath. What happened next not only shocked those present, but also carried a lesson so powerful that it would echo far beyond that moment. Some encounters are meant to remain as simple and fleeting anecdotes of everyday life. Others, however, have the power to transcend banality and transform into deep and complex narratives whose echoes reverberate across generations, shaping perceptions and questioning established truths. What occurred on an apparently ordinary afternoon in Los Angeles in 2024 is one of those encounters that became a story far beyond its starting point. What seemed like a trivial interaction between a homeless person and one of the greatest living legends of cinema, Clint Eastwood, triggered a wave of speculation and debate involving everyone from the media to renowned human behavior experts, sparking deep reflection on what it means to give and receive, on choices, and on the invisible layers of everyday life. It all began almost routinely, as just another of the many days in the bustling city of Los Angeles. Clint Eastwood, now in his 90s, walked slowly along the sidewalk with a somewhat solitary posture, something that had become common after his gradual withdrawal from public life. He seemed absorbed in his thoughts, as if his memories of an unmatched career and his own questions about the future had overtaken him. His presence, though still imposing, now seemed almost ghostly in the urban landscape, like a shadow of a time that had passed. Perhaps he was searching for inspiration for the final project of his career, a work that would capture the essence of his journey. But what happened next no one could have predicted. Amidst that bustling urban landscape, a barefoot, dirty man, dressed in rags barely covering his frail, emaciated body, sat by the side of the street. His appearance seemed to tell the story of a life marked by neglect, abandonment, and suffering. With a trembling hand, he looked at Eastwood and asked in a drawn-out voice, "Sir, could you give me $1? I just need $1." The scene, as moving as it was, wasn't unusual in the city, a metropolis marked by extreme social disparities where poverty and wealth coexist side by side. However, at that specific moment, something was about to happen that would turn this seemingly trivial interaction into a mystery worth unraveling. Clint Eastwood, the iconic actor and filmmaker, stopped abruptly. He didn't walk away, nor did he dismiss the man as so many others might have done. Instead, he stood still, as if time had paused for a moment. His eyes, deep and marked by decades of life, were fixed on the man before him, and from that instant on, the few people nearby began to notice that something extraordinary was unfolding before their eyes. The homeless man, seemingly unaware of the fame of the person before him, showed no surprise or recognition. There was no gleam of admiration that many would have expected, nor any sign of awe. On his tired face, there was only the reflection of a life marked by the daily struggle for survival. It was as if he was used to being ignored, accustomed to being invisible. But Eastwood, with his impenetrable expression, seemed to see beyond this surface. For a moment that lasted longer than usual, he looked at the man as if he were probing the soul of someone who had been forgotten by the world. The tension in the air was palpable. The few witnesses, who had previously been absorbed in their daily routines, were now paying close attention, unsure of what to expect. The homeless man, somewhat uncomfortable with the prolonged silence, repeated his request. "Please, just $1.
It was then that Eastwood made an unexpected move. He reached into his pocket as if to fulfill the request. But when he withdrew his hand, it was empty, which surprised the onlookers. There was no money, as everyone had expected. However, what happened next was even more surprising. Clint Eastwood slowly crouched down, placing himself at the level of the man. His gaze, fixed and penetrating, met the eyes of the homeless man, and the words he spoke changed the atmosphere around them, making it thick with meaning. "You don't need $1. What you really need is a choice." These simple but profound words reverberated with an unexpected force. Those few sentences seemed to touch something within the people around them, creating an almost complete silence. The homeless man, now visibly confused, stared at Eastwood as if waiting for something more. And indeed, there was more. What was this choice he spoke of? How could someone so broken even comprehend the meaning of such a proposal? Eastwood continued, his voice calm but carrying a weight difficult to translate. Every day we pass by people asking for help. We give what we have, spare change, a bit of food, but we never stop to think about what we are truly offering. Money solves a momentary need, but it doesn't solve the problem behind it. What you really need is something deeper, something that will change the course of your life. The homeless man's eyes, astonished, still didn't know how to react. Eastwood, with the calm of someone who had faced so many situations in his long career, took a piece of paper from his pocket and, with a pen, quickly wrote something. He handed it to the man with a firm but gentle gesture. Here is your choice. You can take the dollar as you asked, and I'll give it to you now. Or you can choose something greater, something you may have never imagined. If you choose the opportunity, meet me tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the address on this paper. If you choose the dollar, it's yours now. But after that, we will never see each other again. The decision is yours. The air around them seemed to vibrate with tension. The people who were witnessing the scene moved closer, trying to understand what was happening, but the homeless man remained still, holding the piece of paper as if it were something sacred. He looked at the actor, then at the paper, and back at Eastwood, unable to articulate an immediate response. What would he choose? Eastwood, without looking back, slowly stood up, as if the weight of it all was about to leave him too. He gave one last glance at the homeless man, turned, and with calm steps, continued on his way, leaving behind a trail of uncertainty and curiosity. What would happen the next day? Would the homeless man show up at the given address? The witnesses of that scene would never forget what they had seen, but now a question hung in the air, waiting for an answer. How far can our choices take us? And what are we capable of deciding when confronted with something so unexpected and transformative? The world was now anxiously waiting to know the outcome of that story. The homeless man stood there with the paper in his hands, his eyes fixed on those few written words, as if holding something far more valuable than a mere piece of paper. For him, that note represented not just an opportunity, but a silent revolution in his life, a rare chance that might perhaps finally break the cycle of marginalization and suffering. Like a lottery ticket, it carried the promise of a different destiny, something he had never imagined. His fingers, slightly trembling, closed around the paper with the intensity of someone still holding on to hope, even if fragile. The scene around him was filled with growing curiosity. Everyone wanted to know what was written, but the homeless man, as if guarding a deep and transformative secret, hid the ticket in his pocket and quickly walked away. The mystery in the air became palpable, like a suspense that seemed to suspend time. He refused to speak to anyone, even avoiding the most insistent gazes. His silence, laden with meaning, echoed louder than any word. What could be so important? What could transform his life and capture the attention of everyone around him?
In the hours that followed, the city, caught in a wave of curiosity, found itself trapped in the mystery that the man represented. The story spread like wildfire. What was written on that piece of paper? What did that opportunity the man was holding mean? Soon, rumors began to take shape, and cafes, squares, and buses became places of intense speculation. People discussed non-stop, imagining possible scenarios, trying to understand what could be so transformative for someone who, until that moment, had been invisible to the majority. The idea of a unique chance amidst hopelessness sparked an unprecedented energy in the city. The next day, the entire city seemed to be in a state of frenzied anticipation. A small crowd began to gather at the location indicated on the note. The tension in the air was palpable, as if something grand was about to happen. And then, just before 9 a.m., the homeless man appeared again. His steps, hesitant at first, soon became more confident, and the man, though visibly nervous, was determined. His eyes, once vague and tired, now shone with a new fire. He knew that this moment was crucial for his life, but he also knew that this was an opportunity he couldn't let slip away. He entered the abandoned movie studio, which at another time had been the stage for great films and Hollywood productions. The studio, one of many used by Clint Eastwood at the height of his career, now seemed dusty and forgotten. But that day, it would be the setting for something much more significant, something that transcended the boundaries of fiction and touched reality in a profound way. Inside the studio, Eastwood waited, accompanied by a team of professionals. The atmosphere was imbued with a sense of mission, of something beyond mere filmmaking. Eastwood, with his calm and experienced demeanor, looked at the homeless man and revealed his plan. It was an audacious proposal, a mix of art and social responsibility that aimed not only to tell a story but to transform lives. The documentary he planned to produce would not be a simple expose of the hardships of the streets, but a true investigation into the choices, dreams, dilemmas, and possibilities that often remain hidden in the shadows of the city. Eastwood wanted the homeless man to be more than just a secondary character in a sad story. He wanted him to be the protagonist, with the strength of his narrative and the complexity of his experience. But the impact of this proposal didn't stop there. Eastwood didn't just want to film the man's life, he wanted to transform it. The homeless man wouldn't just be the star of the documentary, but he would also play an active role in creating a different future for himself. Eastwood offered more than just a chance to shine on the screen. He offered the opportunity to rebuild his life. The project would include financial support, housing, medical assistance, and training, all aimed at giving the man the tools he needed to reintegrate into society with dignity. It was a chance to start over, to redefine his future, and to prove to himself and to the world that life on the streets isn't the end of the line. It was, without a doubt, a rare and unique opportunity, something that could break the cycle of despair and abandonment the man had lived through until then. The news soon leaked to the media, and Eastwood's gesture quickly became something much bigger than just a story about a documentary. The proposal to help someone was no longer merely about fulfilling an immediate need, but about providing an opportunity for real and lasting change. Instead of simply offering a handout or a momentary act of charity, Eastwood offered something infinitely more valuable, a chance to rewrite one's own story. His response to the request for $1 transformed into a profound message about the power of empathy, the importance of choices, and the transformative impact of an action when guided by the intention to promote lasting change. Clint Eastwood, once again, did not limit himself to the role of a cinematic icon. He became a real-life storyteller, someone who not only creates fictional narratives, but also has the courage to challenge the boundaries of reality and provide a concrete chance for change. What he did in that studio was much more than directing a film. He offered an opportunity for a man to rewrite his story, and in doing so, touched the lives of all who witnessed his action. His story was not only one of personal triumph, but a symbol of the power that a single act of compassion can have to change the world. Eastwood didn't just make a film, he made a difference, showing all of us that the true value of helping someone lies not in alleviating temporary pain, but in providing the tools for an entire life to be transformed.